Hello everyone. This is Krista and welcome to the Feminine Takeoff. It seems a little bit late, but the sun has been setting down early lately. It is only about 6:59 p.m. so almost 7 p.m. I'm just coming back from work and I'm packing. I don't know if you can see my luggage on the ground or not, but I'm packing because I have a flight, a work trip in a few hours at 5 a.m. To go to another city for work. But while I was at work a few hours ago here, I came up with this topic that I think you might find a little bit helpful. It helped me a lot as far as oversharing during dates. So I would like to share with you all. I know I don't say this enough, but thank you for watching my channel, for following me, for liking my content. I encourage you to comment if you want to. It would support me a lot. And if you like what you see so far, the topics that I speak about, please like and subscribe to my channel. Again, it will really help me a lot, but no pressure. Anyways. So the name of the topic today is 4 ways to stop oversharing on dates. Actually, I have a bonus one in there, so it's more like 5 ways, but number 5 is a bonus. So, and I think I'm gonna think about whether I want to share it or not, depending on how I wrap up this topic. So, number 1, we're just gonna get straight to it. One thing I want us to all repeat before I start this talk is I am an adult and I have full sovereignty over myself and my mouth and the words that are coming out of my mouth. Okay, so with that being said, let's get started, feminine entities and ladies. Okay, so point number 1 is gonna be 4 ways to stop oversharing or 4 ways to avoid oversharing on dates. Point number 1 is look good. I find it from my previous experiences, when I didn't feel good in my confidence, I felt like I had to overcompensate with my words, with my accolades, with my experiences. So in times where, let's say I was rushing and I rushed myself to a date, or I didn't feel like I had enough time to do my hair and my makeup, I felt like I had to just bring something more to the table, because I knew that I didn't show up as the best physical version of myself that I usually can, or that I know I'm capable of. So look good. If you steam your dress, it's not only physically your makeup or your hair, but if you took time, you iron your dress for the date or your outfit for the date, you've steamed it or ironed the creases out of it, spray that little starch spray in it, or whatever, you've put in effort. Whether you've done a facial mask before the date, or listened to classical music to calm yourself down, or just read a book, you did something to pour into your looks, whether it is physical or internal. You're relaxed enough to not feel like you have to overcompensate by saying more. Okay, say less, ladies, say less. So when you look good, you don't overcompensate, and so you allow him to keep impressing you on the date, because that's the point of the date. He asked you out so he can impress you. If he did not ask you out on this date, I don't know, I can help you. I don't know. If he did not ask you out on this date and you are going on this date, let's hope he shows up, first of all, because he's not the one who planned it or asked you out. And if he does show up, I'm not sure how to proceed with that. But for those of us who have been asked out on a date, this is one of the first steps we do to avoid oversharing or avoid over talking. So point number 2 is say less and look the part. So after knowing you've already put in the work to look good for him, you don't have to overcompensate by trying to impress him with your words. Your appearance, your smell, your presence says enough. You showing up says enough. That's all you need to do. Not all, but initially, that is all you need to do. Just show up with your present. Be present, okay? And point number 3 is ask yourself, how can I allow this wonderful man to impress me? And I emphasize on asking yourself, how can I allow this wonderful man? The term wonderful man is really important, because when you're asking yourself, how can I allow this wonderful man to impress me? Think of the 7 wonders of the world, or think of just the world. Think of the word wonderful itself. It's something, when you see something that is wonderful, what do? What do most people do when they see something wonderful? They're quiet and they admire it, or they're quiet so they can take it in. So when you ask yourself, how can I allow this wonderful man to impress me? You're being quiet so he can show you the wonders of who he is, whether he's a gentleman, whether he is trying to impress you, or even if he's not a gentleman, not trying to impress you. You won't know if you're just yapping your mouth around, bragging, interviewing him, asking him random questions, not just letting the conversation flow. So when you ask yourself, how can I allow this wonderful man to impress me? You sit with yourself and you're able to just do just that. Allow the wonderful man to impress you. And also you'll get intel. You'll get information about what he does, what he's planning on doing with you. A lot of times people tell us what their intentions of us are. We just don't listen. 90% or maybe 80% of the times where I've been on dates, and the people who I went out with, even friendships, they weren't right. They told me exactly their intentions. I just didn't listen because I was yapping my mouth. So again, ask yourself, number 3, ask yourself, how can I allow this wonderful man to impress me? And when you ask yourself that, and when you genuinely answer that question to yourself, you won't be oversharing. You'll be allowing him to impress you. And within that point, also imagine you are a princess or a queen, and the king of the kingdom, or your uncle, your father, or somebody is presenting you with suitors that you may potentially marry. Just even if you're not a princess, or you don't see yourself in that princess light or queen light or royalty light, just imagine and picture a royal woman sitting down being presented suitors. What do you think she's doing? Do you think she's sitting on her throne? Oh, look at him. Oh, do this. Look what he's wearing. Oh, look what he's saying. No, she's not speaking. She's allowing him to show up to the court and present himself, present who he is. Okay? So do that. Put yourself in your queen shoes. Put yourself in your princess shoes. Put yourself in your empress or royalty shoes, and allow this wonderful man to impress you, or gather information. Maybe he's not a wonderful man. Maybe he's the joker. But how can you know if you're not just quiet? You don't sit back and engage. So I'm not saying just be cold and just look at him like, what you got? No, that's not what I'm saying. But just sit and be engaging, but allow him to do the impressing, okay? You showing up present is impressing him enough for him to want to even do more, especially if he's the right type of person for you. Okay? So, also, it's a date. You don't have to marry him tomorrow. You don't have to sleep with him. You don't even have to kiss him. You don't even have to hold his hand. So you don't have to keep talking and say, okay, I have to tell him my whole life story because I'm going to marry him tomorrow after the date, and then we're going to hold hand and write down the sunset. There is no commitment. This is the first date, okay? So whatever ideas, and we women, we do this, whatever idea we've created in our heads or fantasy, you don't have to act upon it tomorrow. So allow him to impress you, truly. And tip number 4 is Oh, this is actually one of my favorite things. I do this not only in dating. I'm not dating right now. I've been engaged twice in my life. Actually 3 times, but twice that counts. But not engaged, but proposed to. Or engaged, because I may have said yes and then changed my mind. Okay, but I have been engaged twice in my lifetime. I'm not dating right now. Once I decide to get a rotation or get on the dating market again, I will continue exercising this. But I also exercise this with not only with dates, but with friends and just life at work, professional settings, everything. Imagine you have a word canteen. Imagine if you don't know what a canteen is. I don't know if in Africa, or I think even in the army, people have like, it's just a container with water in a nutshell. So imagine you have a canteen, okay? And inside of this canteen are your words. And every day you're given a canteen, or you fill this canteen instead of with water, with words. Okay, because words can sustain you. Your words can help you, save you, or get you hurt. So can water. Water can give you life. It can quench your thirst, but too much of it can really hurt you. Imagine you have a canteen of water, and instead of water, that canteen has your words. And imagine that you have set out on a journey across the desert with your canteen, and words represent water, or water represent words in this scenario. So as you're going through the desert, are you gonna start dumping your canteen all over the sand, or filled with water all over the sand, or all over other people, or all over yourself? Are you just gonna like keep dumping, wasting the contents of your canteen? Or are you going to save it, preserve your canteen with wisdom? Because you don't know how long, if you're gonna get lost in this desert on this trip. You don't know if, even if you don't get lost, when you get to your destination, let's hypothetically say you're traveling from one kingdom to another, and you get to the other kingdom, but you are so exhausted. So the canteen representing your words will help you ask for help. So you can say, oh my God, I've been bit by a scorpion on my way, or whatever it is. Your words, if you've saved and preserved your words, your water, your canteen's content enough and wisely, you can just tell people what you need once you get to your destination, okay? Or once the timing is right. But if you don't preserve the canteen, the contents of your canteen, you might be just screwed out of luck, okay? It's gonna be tough to even get to your destination. And when you get to your destination, you what if you need it? Or what if everything goes smoothly? You get to your destination and there is a king there, or a president, or someone completely remarkable, and you want to pay your respects to them and say, thank you for welcoming me into your kingdom. Thank you for gracing me with your presence. Well, if you've just dumped your canteen, your word canteen, all over miles ago, when you got to this destination, you don't have any more content left to use to show gratitude, to just be diplomatic into the next level of your journey. So think of your words. Think of everything you're saying on a date as if they're coming out of a word canteen. So you really want to be careful of how you overspend it. Okay, so that's actually the final point, and I did talk about a bonus point, and if I may, I would like to share it. So the bonus is read the room. Assess yourself. When you're speaking to someone, oh my God, when I learned to do this, I realized how much I overtalked. I also realized how people were trying to escape me. And it happened so much. I actually, now that I've mastered this, I see it when it's happening outside of me, between other people. Please excuse me. So read the room, assess yourself. What do I mean by that? So when you're speaking to someone, for example, and you're in a conversation on a date, okay? You're sitting on this date, you look good, you smell good, he's impressing you, but somehow you get into a dynamic conversation, which is allowed and which is even encouraged, right? But let's say that you're so passionate about this thing. So you're talking and you're going in. You're like talking for more than 2 minutes now. I would say anything you say that lasts more than 30 seconds, 30 to 45 seconds, you're talking too much, and there is no interval of them chipping in. You're talking too much. But anyway, let's just say that you're having this passionate conversation about a topic that you're very passionate about during this date. Take a second in the middle of it. Don't make it too obvious, but be quiet. So I'll give you an example. Okay, so I'm so passionate about women in aviation. And in aviation, I think that more women should be encouraged to pursue a career in aviation, whether it is to be a pilot, flight attendant, and flight engineers, or flight mechanics. In the middle of my sentence, I'll go, you see that pause that I did there? If the person is captivated by what I'm saying, they will say, what were you saying? Or you were saying? If you are having a passionate conversation and the person you're speaking to, you pause to take a sip of water or to take a deep breath, and they butted in and didn't bring you back to the topic in the middle of the track of what you're saying, that means that they were waiting for an escape. That means that whatever you were saying to them, they maybe wanted to butt in. You know, that could be the case, honestly, or maybe it was just too overwhelming for them, or you're being too passionate, or you're looping in your conversation, so they're gonna just try to escape it. So they were like, it's even worse if they change the subject completely. So if you're talking about, again, say the example, women in aviation, and then they're like, oh my god, this sushi is so good, and you know, last time I went on a boat fishing with my uncle. That means that they weren't interested in what you're saying. Read the room. Okay, read the room. Don't say, okay, so like I was saying, women in aviation. No. Let people want to, like, almost your words needs to be pulled out of you. Now, I'm not saying just be silent and boring, but let people crave your words, okay? Conversation should be like a dance, okay? When your next movement, let the person want it. Let the person want to even like predict it or follow the tune with you. But if you're dancing and suddenly you take a pause and the other person like just stops and leaves the room, that's what them changing a conversation is. They just stop whatever you're talking about and change the subject. That means that they weren't in it in the conversation. You're over talking them, or they just let the conversation end gracefully and stop while you're ahead. If they have changed the subject, that simply may mean they used your pause as an escape out of the conversation you were having. Now think about it, ladies. Do you really want to be talking and having a conversation with someone and they feel like they have to escape the conversation? That's not feminine, or that's just not correct or proper at all, especially on a date where you're both supposed to be enjoying each other and he's supposed to be impressing you and you are supposed to be being impressed, allowing yourself to be impressed. As feminine entities, as we're sharing our words, even our presence, because we use our words with such delicacy and such gift, as such a gift, it should be craved. Whoever we're talking to should be kind of almost mesmerized to hear us talk. You know, on a date, it's as you're taking them in and they feel so heard and so important. When you start speaking, they should kind of like even draw themselves in. You ever been talking to someone and they're like, you know, it's not only because of your appearance, but because your words should be something it's like lulling them through the experience of life, caressing them through life. I accidentally did that one time when I first started practicing it a little bit. When I came up with it, I was having a conversation. It wasn't a date. I was out with one of my girlfriends, and then this guy who was out alone invited us to his table. And as we were all having a conversation, when it came my turn and I chipped into the conversation, I took my sip of water and then I paused and looked at the both of them. But I didn't master this enough at that time. And it was a few years ago, so I was like in my early 20s, like maybe 22 or 23. But as I was having this conversation with them, I lost my train of thought. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I was oversharing anyway, and maybe they weren't gonna listen, you know, maybe they were trying to get an escape, but they were so captivated that they're like, the guy was like, keep going, why did you stop? And so was my girlfriend, like, I want to hear the end of this. So I took another sip of water in hopes to like stall a little bit to remember my train of thought, and I forgot it. So just to play it off, I just simply say, may I share something with all of you? I lost my train of thought, and they were both so disappointed. They were like, oh my God, this is so important. And then they were like repeating the words that I was saying before I paused back to me, so I can remember what I was saying, so that I can remember what I was saying to them. So that's how you want people to react to your words. Don't talk so much that when you stop talking, someone's like, oh, thank God. You know, I thought it would never end. You know, you want to be talking in such a way that when you captivate your audience, your date, whoever you're speaking to as you're practicing this, when you pause, they're like, like you can almost hear a pin drop. Like, please go on, okay? Again, talking shouldn't be a long thing, unless of course I'm having a long conversation with you all because I'm sharing a topic. But speaking should not be, you know, this, especially in a conversation, shouldn't be this long, elaborate, drawn thing that someone needs an escape from. As you're speaking to someone, read their body language. Are they like looking around? Are they just like, you know, are they checking out? If they're checking out, maybe take a pause. Take a sip of your water. For sure, ladies, for sure. Take a pause. It's better to be quiet than to be sorry. It's better to be quiet than to overshare and give them an arsenal of tools to use against you. If they're a predator, if they're trying to get something out of you that is not positive, that is not something that you want. And the only way you can do this is if you're quiet and settled into your femininity and you allow them to reveal themselves to you. Because truly femininity is femininity is like beauty. It's equivalent almost to beauty, okay? And beauty, the more you talk about beauty, the more it loses its essence. Think about something so beautiful, even especially a person. You ever talked about someone who's so beautiful? You're like, they're so beautiful. Oh my God, this beauty, this beauty. When you start only talking about, when you focus your words on them, it kind of just dulls the experience of who they are a little bit. But when you are quiet, when you say, this person's beauty, looking at them is like looking in a garden filled with flowers from heaven. You just gave this person an imagination, and that they can take away with, they can walk away with, you know, and even ponder on it, or even get ideas from, you know, as opposed to just keep going and going. It chips away at your beauties. Truly it does. Just to finish that last topic, if or when that happens, don't feel bad about it. Don't get angry that they weren't invested in the conversation. You take your sip of water. You smile at them. And you let them proceed. Because again, remember, they are impressing you. Or you say, you know what, just to reset yourself, if you realize, oh my God, I was oversharing. I was over talking. You take your sip of water. You take a deep breath. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing this in front of your date, say, oh, please excuse me, I'm going to the powder room. Or please excuse me, I'm going to the ladies' room. I'll be right back. Go into the ladies' room and take 3 deep breaths. Take 3 deep breaths. Why? So you can reset yourself. So you can go back and not so fired up and enthusiastic about what you were talking about or overwhelmed about the next topic, okay? And lastly, I know I said that was a final point, but just breathe. Just breathe. And most of all, have fun, ladies. So forgive me if I rambled on and over talked. Maybe this is why I'm single. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to this talk, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe to it. It will really help me a lot. Until next time, feminine ladies, let's take off to better ourselves or to have an amazing fun date. Okay, ciao.